So these forms looks like shit now because they are not styled at all. There are a couple of ways that we can do this. We can create a custom form in Python and add attributes, or we can render them manually. So if we find sign in, we can do it manually to that one to test it out. So instead of this, we're actually going to add HTML and stuff here. So to render the forms, we say form.nonField errors. So this is in case that the username has been taken or similar. And then we can show the label form.username.id for label. Username, close the label, and below here we say form.username. So if I save this now, go back and refresh, you'll see that this looks exactly the same. So how do we style this? If I inspect this, I can see that the HTML for this looks like this. I can do this if I wanted to, and then add clauses here. For example, border gray 200. There it came. So this is probably not the best way to do this. We would like to be able to add clauses to this using Python. That's the cleanest way to do this. So if I go back here, just remove this, and this can be like it is. And then I go into views.py. And then inside the user profile, I create a new file here and save it as forms.py. So I want to override the authentication form that Django has built in. From django.contrib.auth.forms import authentication form and username field. And then I also want to import forms from Django, so from Django import forms. Then we can say class user login form authentication form is what we're going to use here. And then we need to set up the initialization method for this, def init self args and k-args, because we want to allow the arguments correctly here. And then we need to call the function inside the authentication form, user login form. So we just use the same name here because that's the easiest way to do this. Pass in self, and then init, we call the initialization for the parent args and k-args. So everything is just passed directly through. And then here I say username equals username field, which I imported there. Widget equals forms.text input. And then I need to specify which attributes that I want to use here. So attrs equals create a dictionary class, and then py for px for border gray 200 and rounded xl, for example. You can do whatever you want here. And we want to override the password field. So password equals forms. This does not have a password field, so we just use the forms from Django. Char field widget equals, and this should then say forms.password input, and then we specify the attributes here as well. Attrs equals class, and then we can copy these clauses here like that and save. I think this should work. We will test it out very soon. We just need to go to the urls.py and import this form that we just created. So from.forms import user, sorry, I forgot the name, user login form, of course. So from .forms import user login form, and together where we specify the template name, we can say authentication underscore form equals user login form. So then we use the form that we have created. So if I save now, go back and refresh, you can see that we now have the styling. We have a double username. Let's go in here. Let's just remove these two. I think we can just have it like this actually. And now we can see that this looks a little bit better. Great. If we want some space between these two, we can add a div here, class py4, space dash y4. And then we close this div and fix the indentation and refresh. This button can also have empty dash 4 and refresh. So now this form looks much better, and this is something that we can do with all of the other forms as well if we wanted to do that. So instead of repeating this over and over for the other forms, you can try to have this as a task for yourself to customize the sign up form as well. So that was it for this part. In the next part we're going to make it possible for the user to show only their tasks. See you in the next video.